Hello and welcome to another An Old Man Watches. And today I'm talking about 1979's The Black Hole. And in The Black Hole, the spacecraft USS Palomino is on a mission exploring deep space. It has a crew of 6, 5 human and 1 robot. And as the mission nears its end and the Palomino begins its return to Earth, the crew discovers a black hole. And drifting near the black hole is the apparently abandoned and long-lost USS Cygnus, a ship that vanished 20 years earlier with all of the crew. The Palomino crew decide to investigate and discover that there is a mysterious null gravity field surrounding the Cygnus, which is the thing that allows it to defy the massive gravitational pull of the black hole. When the Palomino briefly strays outside this field, it's damaged by the intense gravity of the black hole, forcing it into an emergency dock with the Cygnus, which suddenly no longer appears abandoned. Aboard the Cygnus, they meet Dr. Hans Reinhardt. Reinhardt explains that he's been alone on the Cygnus since it encountered a meteor field and was disabled, and the rest of the crew abandoned the ship. To replace the crew, Reinhardt has built faceless black-robed drones, sentry robots, and his sinister bodyguard robot, Maximilian. Reinhardt says that he intends to fly the Cygnus through the black hole because 20 years of studies has shown it's possible. All sounds on the up and up, right? Well, maybe not. The Palomino crew pretty quickly figure out that Reinhardt's story doesn't quite add up and begin trying to seek a way out of their situation. Will they succeed? Or will they be captured in the inexorable grip of the black hole? So this was the first ever Disney movie to not get an all audiences rating. It was rated PG on release, parental guidance. Bit of a change of pace for Disney, obviously, and a bit of a risk, you might have said, as a project. And in fact, although it grossed sort of roughly twice its production budget and domestic ticket sales, it was not considered to be either a critical or commercial success. Despite that, in the succeeding 4 decades, it's garnered something of a cult following amongst science fiction fans. So let's talk about what's interesting about this movie, and what works, what doesn't, and why people like it, even when perhaps they shouldn't. Okay, so first of all, The Black Hole secured a Best Visual Effects nomination for the Academy Awards in 1979. It lost to Alien, the first one, which I think is a fair decision, but it also was a fair decision to give it a nomination. While not every effect scene in The Black Hole lands perfectly, and the film's rather static direction and choreography doesn't always show off the effects as well as it could, the film has a huge amount of great design and innovative techniques. The black hole itself looks really cool. Reinhardt's robotic servitors ooze silent visual menace, and the good guy robots are really at odds with those. So Reinhardt's robotic servitors are menacing and silent. The good guy robots are talkative and cute and cuddly. They've got a trash can-like design adorned with large, obviously inhuman eyes, like cartoon characters. I suspect toy sales were a definite factor in the look of the good guy robots. I can easily see a plushie or a toy of that, and I'm sure I remember there being toys at the time. And then finally, there's the USS Cygnus itself, which is a glorious Baroque oddity that looks like someone took the Eiffel Tower, encased it in glass, and then lit it up from the inside with thousands of lights. You can see it in the image on your screen. It's a gorgeously impractical piece of design. I love it. The scene where the Palomino kind of first encounters the Cygnus it's great. It's a really good moment in the film, and the Cygnus just looks amazing. Now, The Black Hole is not without its flaws. So, writers Bob Barbash and Richard Landau originally approached Disney with the idea of a space-themed disaster film. This was in the aftermath of the success of films like the Poseidon Adventure. And the studio assigned a producer who introduced the idea of a black hole being a major feature in the film. Unhappy with the script that was delivered, he hired a third writer to rework it. Then he temporarily retired. The product was shelved for 4 months. Then Disney chose a director who promptly hired a fourth person to do some more rewrites. By now, audience interest in disaster films seemed to have waned, so after a fifth writer's changes were deemed unsatisfactory, a sixth was called in to restructure the story. Wouldn't you know it, though, his final draft was also rejected, and a seventh writer was called in to do some script doctoring. This was by now mid-1978, which, given that the film came out in 1979, was presumably fairly deep into production. The many stops and starts of changes of writer and direction have definitely hurt the film. You would think, with that many writers, that, the script would have been polished within an inch of its life, but no, I mean, it's very much a too many cooks kind of situation. Somehow, even with 7 writers, nonsensical dialogue clangers like, their mission was to find habitable life, still made it in. Habitable life? I think you mean a habitable planet? Or life-bearing planet? Or something like that? Habitable life? Like life you can live on? It doesn't make any sense. And the film's pacing is also very poor. The entire first hour of the film is very slow, full of long, talky scenes, which really makes the film feel longer than it is. And then you got the final 10 minutes, which are, completely nuts, frankly. It's the 70s, we took a lot of hallucinogens and called it done kind of weirdness going on there. It deserves to be watched just for that, but just bear in mind it's going to feel longer than the 90 minutes it actually is. Finally, I've alluded to this a little bit earlier, but the direction. We need to talk about the direction. So this film was directed by Gary Nelson. Apparently, he was picked off the back of his Primetime Emmy nomination for a political drama miniseries. And his previous feature film credit, meanwhile, was 1976's Freaky Friday. Now, I submit that neither of these projects seems like it would require the same kind of directorial vision and skills as a big-budget science fiction adventure story does. Nelson himself apparently declined the offer to direct this film to begin with, but was lured into changing his mind by, the strength of the production's miniatures and matte paintings. Like I said, the visuals are great. Alas, I feel like Mr. Nelson should have stuck to his original decision. While he went on to have a good career as a small-screen director, based on the evidence of this movie, he was at a loss of what to do here. As I've said, the film is very static, and it's a real problem. Much of the first half of the film has the dialogue telling us how dangerous what's happening on screen is, or how weird and creepy it is, but the camera work and the direction simply lack any intensity to back that up. Then we get to the action sequences that sort of anchor the second act of the movie, I guess. And, the film delivers a row of identical robots standing perfectly still while firing at targets that are off screen. Pulse-pounding choreography and direction, this is not. Despite the problems with the direction and the problems with the writing, I'm one of those people who has a soft spot for this movie. It's deeply flawed, don't get me wrong, but there's a kernel of something really interesting here, and apparently Disney agree, because they have made multiple efforts to put together a script for a remake, particularly in the last 10 years. To date, none of those have come to anything, but maybe, just maybe, we'll one day get a version of this movie that grabs you with the power of a real black hole, and I'll be there for that when it happens. So that's The Black Hole. Next time, we're going to go to 2002's Scooby-Doo, the first live-action attempt to bring Scooby-Doo to screen that I'm aware of. We'll talk about what's good, what's bad, and see what we find. In the meantime, so that's next time. So in the meantime, thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it.